Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Two things. One, shall we begin together by standing and singing as we're able? And two, would you help me welcome for the first time ever performing publicly the Sage Singers?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome here to First Unitarian Church of Portland. We are a multi-generational community that strives to put love at the center. Whether you're here in the sanctuary or joining us online, we're so glad to be together today. I want to introduce some special guests among us this morning. Members of the Portland Sage Singers are making their inaugural performance this morning. The Sage Singers are a group of queer elder choir performing that was formed last October. They are age 55 plus, and their mission is to promote the value of Q plus elders and allies and bringing joy to the world through song, storytelling, and community building. They're conducted. Yes, let's welcome them. And they are directed by famed Gala Gay and Lesbian Association conductor, Dr. Timothy Seelig. Welcome, Dr. Seelig, and welcome, singers. We're so glad you're here among us today. If you are new among us, we would like to invite you to a welcome circle that we have each week. That's to my left in the side gallery. We'd love to get to know you and hear what brings you to the church and see what questions you have. So join us for a welcome circle after the service. And there is a social hour following the service immediately below us in Fuller Hall. Join for social hour. You can check out the current art exhibit, a work of Julian Hunter, and see the bookstore, many activities to take part in today. And we're heading towards the end of our church year, and a couple notes about that. Next Sunday, we will be recognizing volunteers here in our community that serve in many, many ways. On June the 7th, that's a week from this coming Saturday, we will be ordaining our own Danielle Garrett into the Unitarian Universalist ministry. That will be here in this sanctuary at 2 o'clock on Saturday, June 7th. And 2 weeks from today will be our Community Sunday. That is when we will celebrate our annual flower communion. It's a good time to be together, and I'm so glad to see all of you. Let's take a moment now and greet one another as we gather today. Danielle will light our chalice this morning. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
I call us into worship this morning with these words from 19th century Unitarian minister William Ellery Channing that still resonate today. I am a living member of the great family of all souls, and I cannot improve or suffer myself without diffusing good or evil around me through an ever-enlarging sphere. I belong to this family. I am bound to it by vital bonds. Come, friends, let us center ourselves in this sanctuary, in this community of belonging, and worship together in love and common purpose.
They actually said I could talk. It's a dangerous thing for a recovering Baptist minister. Just want you to know, I knew that you would sing well. This church is known for its music. I am just so happy to be in a church that claps. Yes. We are all queer folk and allies, and Holly Near wrote a song that is one of our theme songs, iconic theme songs, Singing for Our Lives. And she allowed us to change that for Sage Singers to Singing for the Rest of Our Lives. And so that's what we're doing. We've all graduated somewhere from some choir, somewhere, and some were never in choir. And here we are gathered. This is, how many times are we going to say, this is our first performance ever? We've been in the cocoon of a rehearsal hall, and now we're looking at your faces. And we are scared. You're a scary people. And just kidding. We could not have been invited to a more beautiful place. We are honored to be here and thrilled to share our music with you.
What a gift. Will you join me in rising in body or in spirit for our responsive reading this morning by A. Pell Davies? None of our private worlds is big enough for us to live a wholesome life in. We need the wider world of joy and wonder, of purpose and venture, of toil and tears. What are we, any of us, but strangers and sojourners, forlornly wandering through the nighttime until we draw together and find the meaning of our lives in one another, dissolving our fears in each other's courage, making music together, and lighting torches to guide us through the dark. We belong together. Love is what we need, to love and to be loved. Let our hearts be open, and what we would receive from others, let us give. For what is given still remains to bless the giver when the gift is love. Now let us join in our doxology, Spirit of Life.
Spirit
It's our custom here at First Unitarian to share our offering each month with community organizations in concert with our own church mission. This year, we're sharing our offering with groups working for the rights and support of immigrants. This month, our plate is shared with VAWS, a worker-led organization that empowers diverse day laborers and immigrants to improve their working conditions and protect civil rights through leadership development, organizing, education, and economic opportunity. VAWS connects day laborers to jobs at the Worker Center, and it organizes in the larger community in defense of immigrant and worker rights. If you'd like to give to our offering today and you're here in person, our ushers will come through momentarily, and you'll also see a QR code, and you can give electronically that way here or if you're online. Thank you for your giving, and thank you for your generosity that sustains the ministry of this congregation. Wow, somebody said, thank you. Each Sunday, we make space in our service to hold up the concerns of our community life. If you'd like to write down a prayer intention to be held by our ministers and lay ministers, you can do that in the side gallery. You can also light a candle of intention, and you can send intentions to prayer@firstunitarianportland.org to be held through the week. We don't have any individual concerns to name today, but I want to hold up a couple things. This is Memorial Day weekend, and while this is perhaps often thought of as the beginning of summer, let us remember those who have given their lives in service to our country, those who have sacrificed that we might know the freedoms we have. We remember them. We give thanks for their service. And today is the 5th anniversary of the murder of George Floyd at the hands of police officers in Minneapolis. That murder, we know, set off protests around the country, including here in our own city of Portland, that went on for weeks and weeks. We remember him this morning and give our voice to our commitment for a world where Black and brown lives matter, where all Black and brown lives are considered precious and safe. In that spirit, will you join me now in prayer? Spirit of life and of love, God of many names and no name at all, hear our prayers this day. Be with us as we find our way, Spirit, in this amazing and complicated, this ugly and this beautiful world. Just as those who have gone before us have made so much of what we take for granted possible, help us to answer the call to serve the common good, to see our neighbor as ourself, to recognize those most vulnerable around us, our transgender siblings, immigrants simply seeking a better life, our Black and brown siblings, those who simply seek shelter and peace. Help us to see those in those most vulnerable, our own vulnerabilities. Help us to know how we are all part of this beautiful and bountiful creation. Be with us in all of our days, Spirit. Call us to courage. Call us to not be afraid. Call us to hope. And in all our days, call us to love. Amen. Let's take a few moments now and be together in silence. Let's remain seated as we sing together now with heart and mind.
Thank
Our reading today is an excerpt from The Lonely City, Adventures in the Art of Being Alone by Olivia Lang. There is a gentrification that is happening to cities, and there is a gentrification that is happening to the emotions too, with a similarly homogenizing, whitening, deadening effect. Amidst the glossiness of late capitalism, we are fed the notion that all difficult feelings, depression, anxiety, loneliness, rage, are simply a consequence of unsettled chemistry, a problem to be fixed, rather than a response to structural injustice, or, on the other hand, to the native texture of embodiment, of doing time, as David Wojnarowicz memorably put it, in a rented body, with all the attendant grief and frustration that entails. I don't believe the cure for loneliness is meeting someone, not necessarily. I think it's about two things: learning how to befriend yourself and understand that many of the things that seem to afflict us as individuals are in fact a result of larger forces of stigma and exclusion, which can and should be resisted. Loneliness is personal, and it is also political. Loneliness is collective. It is a city. As to how to inhabit it, there are no rules, nor is there any need to feel shame, only to remember that the pursuit of individual happiness does not trump or excuse our obligations to each other. We are in this together, this accumulation of scars, this world of objects, this physical and temporary heaven that so often takes on the countenance of hell. What matters is kindness. What matters is solidarity. What matters is staying alert, staying open, because if we know anything from what has gone before us, it is that the time for feeling will not last.
Something inside so strong. I know
Okay, I know this might be difficult, but how many of you can reach way back into the recesses of your memory and recall those bygone days when the US Surgeon General cared about public health? Like, for example, 2023. That is the year that then Surgeon General Vivek Murthy released a report on our nation's epidemic of loneliness and isolation. That report showed that Americans are increasingly disconnected from one another and their communities and report lower levels of social engagement and feelings of belonging than ever. The report says that this lack of social connection is as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It also found that those with very strong feelings of community belonging reported very good or excellent health at a rate 2.6 times higher than those with very low perceptions of belonging. We have a crisis of belonging in this country, and it is literally killing us. And in more ways than one. A sense of belonging is so important to human survival that when it's lacking, people will seek it out in really dangerous ways. And there are plenty of bad actors who will prey on this need, which is why the loneliness epidemic has also been correlated with a rise in hate group membership. Some researchers believe our sense of disconnection from one another isn't the result of political polarization, but rather one of the causes of it. When we lack a sense of belonging, we seek it out through the act of othering. And I believe our diverse and welcoming UU faith communities can be an antidote to this epidemic. It's one of the reasons why I entered the ministry in the first place. But given the high stakes, and the risk of mistaking othering for belonging, I think it's really important that together we actually take some time to think deeply about how we understand, define, and address belonging. And then think about what it is belonging asks of us when we find it. Because I think belonging is different from welcoming. We might say all are welcome here, but does everyone belong here? And I know our instinct is to just say, yes, of course, but let's think about that, right? We might happily welcome a guest who usually attends another denomination's Sunday morning services. But would we say to them, no, you belong here, if they are spiritually and theologically fulfilled and aligned in their own congregation? Would we say to someone who is regularly spewing anti-LGBTQ hate speech and has no desire to change, you belong here? I might genuinely be welcomed into an evangelical congregation, but I don't know that I'm going to feel like I belong there. And the fabulous sage singers today might happily welcome me when I turn 55 into their community. But given my inability to carry a tune in any way, I doubt I would feel a deep sense of belonging there, right? They might be extremely kind about it, but I have a feeling I would feel some sense of alienation and not being able to actually contribute to their greater purpose. So it seems belonging goes beyond just mere kindness and welcoming. And I think it's also different from just having things in common, right? How many avid readers here have ever joined a book group that just was not a good fit? You were like, I like this book, but this is just not working out. Or a sports team where maybe despite performing well in games, you don't feel that level of team cohesion that you want. Who's ever taken a job that looked great on paper or sent an acceptance letter to a dream school only to find it didn't feel quite right when you got there? So belonging isn't just about checking the right boxes or sharing similar characteristics either. Belonging is something deeper and harder to define, but when you feel it, right, when you feel belonging, you know it is unmistakable. It is an alignment of place and body and soul, a feeling of finally arriving at home in yourself. So, what is it that creates that deeper feeling? And how do we help cultivate it? How do we ensure that we're moving beyond just a surface level kindness into the kind of life-saving work of belonging that we desperately need right now? This is the question that has been on my mind this month as we've explored this theme, and as I've read academic article after academic article about the crisis of belonging and wondered about the antidote. I found at least part of the answer in an unexpected place, and that is the book of Exodus. See, Reverend Allison and I have been facilitating a class for some young adults at the church called Articulating Your Faith. And a few weeks ago, when we were discussing ethics, we really dug into the 10 Commandments. Now, I love talking about the 10 Commandments, but I was kind of surprised that the class met my enthusiasm because they kind of get a bad rap, being as they are associated with religious fundamentalism and an angry dictatorial God. And in many ways, the conversation went against all of the conventional wisdom about how to increase belonging and membership at church and bring in more young adults to the church, right? In our fractured world, where there are so many other things competing for our attention, there's a tendency to assume that the lower the barrier for entry and the hipper the aesthetics, the better, right? So in Nashville, I saw evangelical churches that were attached to breweries. There were pub hymn nights, coffee shops on site, mimosa brunches. The assumption is fun, social, low commitment, flexible, light on dogma is the way to go. But there we were, reading with depth and earnestness about the 10 Commandments without an IPA in sight. Because it turns out younger folks want the same thing out of church as anyone else: spiritual depth, meaningful community, and yes, a sense of accountability. In the book of Exodus, the Israelites are finally free, finally out from under the hand of Pharaoh, but they aren't home yet. They're still wandering in the wilderness, bickering and fighting and worshiping false idols, and feeling altogether a little unmoored and displaced. And God's answer in that moment is not land or shelter or a hobby they can do together or better self-esteem. It is a covenant. The divine answer to that restless longing for home, this ancient crisis of belonging, is a shared set of ethical agreements. And it was during this deep dive into the 10 Commandments that I was able to articulate those components of true belonging that had been eluding me: common purpose and shared obligations. We begin the work of belonging by asking what we owe one another. The folks at the Othering and Belonging Institute at UC Berkeley put it this way: belonging is powerful because it works as an aspirational North Star that helps us declare the kind of world and communities we want to live in. Vibrant and interconnected, healthy ones in which everyone holds the agency, responsibility, and power to co-create the structures that serve the good of the whole. When you belong, you are a vital part of a greater whole, and every other person around you in that community of belonging is an equally vital part of the greater whole. So when you belong, your responsibility is no longer only to yourself, but also to the good of the whole. While a sense of belonging is necessary for our individual survival, it is profoundly unselfish and deeply relational. Belonging isn't a status you passively receive, but a relationship of love and interdependence and accountability that you co-create and nurture. It is a gift and a blessing, yes, but it is only made real and sustainable when we recognize it is also a commitment. Belonging brings with it moral obligations that begin with ourselves and then radiate outward in ever-widening circles. Brené Brown writes, "True belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness." Before we can do the work of belonging to one another, we have to do the work of belonging to ourselves, aligning our beliefs and actions so we are living an authentic and integrated life. And this kind of belonging also asks something of us. To live with a sense of internal integrity and self-possession sometimes means saying hard things, making sacrifices, and resisting those who would attempt to take ownership of your spirit and control of your moral compass. The best illustration I've heard of the obligations that come with belonging to oneself is the story of A.J. Muste. Muste was a minister and pacifist and activist who stood vigil outside the White House night after night in protest of the Vietnam War. He was once asked by a reporter if he thought his vigil would change the country's policies. He replied, "Oh, I don't do this to change the country. I do this so the country won't change me." This question of what belonging asks of us, I think, is perhaps easiest to understand in the local communities we are part of, whether it's families or civic associations or social groups or faith communities like this one. At church, we talk not only about the benefits of membership, but also the responsibilities. You don't get to sign the membership book and then just behave however you want without consequence because you've signed it. When you sign that book, you are adding your name among many, many others. You are connecting yourself to the greater whole, and in doing so, become a steward of this beloved community. As you move from feeling welcomed here into fully belonging here, your responsibilities and the promises that go with them shift. We become accountable to one another. We expect people to show up. We notice when you don't. We expect people to share their gifts, to treat one another respectfully, to uphold our faith values, and lovingly call one another back when we fail or falter. Right? In that way, the covenants of our UU faith communities, or the work this congregation is doing to establish a right relations task force, that work isn't about policing or excluding, but rather about deepening belonging, about honoring the obligations that come when we enter into that sacred relationship together. And then we carry this gift and this responsibility of belonging out into the wider world, into the ever-enlarging sphere, in Channing's words. Right, we may say in a global sense, oh, we all belong to one another, we belong to the earth, or I am my sibling's keeper. We may quote Mother Teresa's assertion that we have no peace because we've forgotten that we belong to each other. But those platitudes mean very little if we only use them to comfort and reassure ourselves of our inherent worth, without then pursuing the task that they call us to. To believe in a kind of universal belonging means being in accountable relationship with our planet, with our neighbors, with people across borders. I think we make a mistake when we treat belonging as a kind of get-out-of-jail-free card. I am a living member of the great family of all souls is not an invitation to rest on your laurels, knowing that you're secure in your place in the universe. It is an acknowledgement that with belonging comes interconnection and thus responsibility. The wider and deeper your sense of belonging, the wider and deeper your obligations. If a pursuit of belonging doesn't also lead you to the work of justice, to protecting our planet and feeding the poor and welcoming the immigrant, then I hate to break it to you, but you probably have not found true belonging. The crisis of belonging in our country is dire. People are literally dying from the physical health impacts, from the hatred that festers in isolation and disconnection, and from the policies enacted by politicians who use this crisis of belonging to consolidate their own power. It's hard for me to imagine an issue more worthy of our attention right now. So we would be forgiven for wanting it to be an easy fix, for thinking the answer to increased belonging is lowering the bar, expecting less from one another and from ourselves. But I just don't think that's true, right? If that was the answer, social media would have solved our loneliness crisis. I think people are actually hungry for communities that expect more from them. Like the Israelites wandering in the desert, we come home to ourselves when we are able to make commitments to one another. I believe true belonging happens when grace and accountability flow in equal and loving abundance. So let us lean into the beauty of that paradox. Let's expect a lot from one another, but love one another wildly and indiscriminately. Let's value both moral rigor and abundant forgiveness. Let's build a house of belonging where we keep our doors and our hearts wide open and our standards high. May it be so. Amen. And now let us rise in body or in spirit and join in singing Love Will Guide Us. Friends, belonging is equal parts sacred gift and holy responsibility. It means letting yourself be seen and known and loved and recognizing that you are called to see and know and love others in return. It is not for the faint of heart, and yet it is the only thing that will save us. So may we have the courage to pursue it wholeheartedly. For this is the day that you and I have been given. Let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. Practice love. Amen.
Shadow of antiquity. is on